Well, it is Pittsburgh Sports Live. Hello, I'm Dan Kingerski. Steelers Monday. I don't think anyone knows how to react today because, Chase, this is Pittsburgh. And when the Steelers win on Sunday, everyone's happy. Everyone's out drinking Sunday night. It's a Sunday fun day. It goes into Sunday fun night. When they lose, everyone's miserable till like Thursday. A tie. Everyone's walking around confused. What the hell was that yesterday?
I have no idea, honestly, what it was. I like to call Mondays after football games, regardless, overreaction Monday, because one way or another, you're going to overreact. I was listening to the radio on the way back home last night from Cleveland. By the way, pouring down rain with one windshield wiper. It blew off in the middle of the drive, and we had one headlight. It was extremely safe.
You know, actually, I've been there driving through Youngstown. I stopped at like some awful truck stop with two strip clubs beside it and bought Rain-X. I've been there.
I asked the toll guy, I said, I have no idea where we are. Can you help us out? He didn't help, but I have no idea. I think David DeCastro said it best, told me in the locker room yesterday, I don't know what the hell just happened. That was really one of the most unusual. Forget about the tie. Just the way it happened, what went down in the fourth quarter with about 8-9 minutes left, and overtime between the fumbles, between the interceptions, between the block kick, Chris Boswell missing a kick, James Conner with the fumble. I mean, I know we're going to get into all these things. It was just a very unusual day, and then you throw in the elements. It was insane. And the Browns hadn't won a game in 624 days, but their 17-game losing streak is now over. It was weird all the way around.
Come on, if Bud Light had any heart, they would have opened the beer fridges yesterday.
I retweeted their tweet. They were like, "Sorry, Cleveland, it was close, but no free Bud Light tonight." Oh,
come on! Like seriously, Bud Light doesn't sponsor us, so I think I'm well in my rights to say it's not that good.
It was
just open the fridge.
It was pretty funny, and they had one in the press box.
Bud Light?
Yeah, no, the Bud Light coolers.
Oh, okay.
It was pretty funny. I think it's a genius marketing scheme, whatever you think about the beer or not, but it's pretty funny with that. But everyone was asking. You asked me, I think, right? Did you ask me if it was going to be open, or maybe that was just you on Twitter?
That was me on Twitter being a smartass. Yeah,
it was. Anyways, yeah, just a weird day all the way around, and then you throw in the Le'Veon Bell stuff swirling around in his tweet. Just a weird day from start to finish.
Well, and I purposely didn't bring up Le'Veon Bell because I share a little bit of David DeCastro's sentiment from the postgame yesterday. I'm sick of it. Let's go right to James Conner. Until the big fumble. You were saying Le'Veon who?
Yeah, I was really surprised at how they used James Conner.
They used him.
They used him exactly like Le'Veon Bell, and they were talking about that leading up to the game. Oh, yeah, he's going to be the feature back. He's going to be the guy, blah, 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 blah. I thought it was more lip service than anything, but they used him exactly the way that they use Le'Veon Bell. And what impressed me the most is the amount of touches. I think, what did he have, 6 catches? 3 catches. 3 catches and 31 carries. So what? That's 34.
Hang on.
5 catches. 5 catches. So 36 touches, and
right here's James Conner's stats. I'm not sure how close I can actually. The beauty of this little program we've got here, the live switcher. 5 catches, 57 yards. His long was 19.
Yeah, no, actually, his long was 22 is the touchdown.
Oh, okay. His long run. Long catch was 19.
Yeah. So, and by the way, another crazy stat if you want to add it in there, with comparing Le'Veon Bell. Of Le'Veon Bell's 361 carries last year, he only had 1 that went for 22 yards or more. And James Conner, in his first ever NFL start, had a 22-yard touchdown. Last year, Le'Veon Bell's 1 carry, longest carry was 28 yards.
Yeah.
So, granted, I'm not going to. I know
no
it's
one's
overreaction
dissing
Monday,
Bell.
But no, I'm not saying that. It's only 1 game, but I was very pleased to see what James Conner could do.
Yeah.
And just to see that he could handle it. Yeah, he has the pedigree and all that stuff, but you don't do it until you do it. So I was, I was impressed. I mean, you can think about it all.
I had that on my locker in high school.
Exactly. But impressive. But the kind of guy that James Conner is, you could tell afterwards, he still wasn't pleased because of that fumble.
Right.
So he knew that he should have been more aware.
But you know what? And I'll give Bob Pompiani credit. He had the stat yesterday spot on. Didn't have to look it up.
Who?
Le'Veon. Yeah, I'm sorry. Your competition.
I'm just kidding.
And what Pom said was, look, Bell fumbled 4 times last year.
Yeah.
So and here's a rookie, or not a rookie, but really his first big time game action.
Oh, yeah.
James Conner. And if that's what we have to look forward to as Steeler fans, and the Steelers as a team have to look forward to, boy, it just gets more tempting and tempting to sign and trade. Can you sign and trade on a franchise? There's all kinds of weird little rules. Or even just say, pull it. Goodbye.
You can rescind the.
But then he's a free agent.
Right, and you get nothing.
Which is tempting.
And they've also said that they're not going to trade him. I think, let's not, again, it's one game. It was a really good game by James Conner.
But Cleveland has a good defense. They were 7th in run defense last year. And I'll tell you what, here's a kid I want to, I'm going to pull him up here. Denzel Ward I thought it was a revelation yesterday. He was in Antonio Brown's back pocket all day long. Now, I know the field wasn't great, but that goes for both of them, and he was all over Antonio.
Field actually wasn't that bad.
So you're saying it wasn't Heinz Field Saturday?
No. Good gosh, no, it wasn't. It was raining. I mean, the last 7 minutes I was down on the field watching, and it was wet, but the turf wasn't, like, eaten up or like Heinz Field on Saturday. But yeah, Denzel Ward, of course, with the Browns, the big talk around them is Baker Mayfield, the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
But this kid, he's an Ohio kid from Cleveland, I believe. He was fantastic. I thought they were crazy leading into the game. The Browns saying that, oh yeah, he's going to follow AB. Like you're insane.
You're going to put a 21-year-old kid on Antonio Brown.
Yeah, and he did a great job. And you look at Antonio Brown's stats. Yes, he had 9 catches for 93 yards, but there were 16 targets his way, and the kid came away with 2 interceptions. So.
And one was a beauty of a diving, a terrible throw by Ben Roethlisberger down on what was the 18-yard line.
Yeah, AB was double covered, and then Denzel Ward had the fortitude enough to come off of his man at that time and jump in. But Denzel Ward and that defense, and you look at Myles Garrett, you look at their linebackers. Cleveland isn't the Cleveland that we all thought they were. They're not. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs, win 10 games, but they are much improved, and that defense has always been good, at least in the last few years.
Yeah, I was really impressed. I'll tell you what, Chase. I'll get shish kebab for saying this. And by the way, we roll through the comments on YouTube. Go ahead, you can comment live. We are live on YouTube, or catch us later. If Tyrod Taylor was
Rod.
It's
Thank you.
If he were any sort of NFL quarterback, the Steelers lose yesterday.
Yeah. Okay.
If he were an average NFL quarterback with any sort of pocket presence,
he is.
Really?
Yes.
I think he's a little below the line.
You have to look at the weakness of the Browns, in my estimation, is their O-line, especially. It's really not good at all. He didn't have much time. You got to give the Steelers credit. That pass rush is relentless. We'll talk about T.J. Watt, I'm sure, on what he did, and your boy, Bud Dupree.
I'm going to bust on Bud Dupree in a few seconds.
You have to weigh all of it. I'm not saying that Tyrod Taylor is in the upper echelon by any means. His stats yesterday were garbage. However, he's not that bad. The left tackle, I forget his name, he's an undrafted rookie free agent. He's been out of the game for 2 years out of Eastern or Western Michigan or something like that, Manitoba State, whatever. He's not good. That guy's replacing Joe Thomas, a Hall of Famer.
But he still took Bud Dupree to the goalpost every play. Now, Bud Dupree does know he has to actually turn left to the quarterback at some point.
Sure, I'm just talking about Tyrod.
Okay.
Tyrod's not that bad.
But
he's really not that bad. Again, take into it. Okay,
Okay,
a guy
no,
that's
no,
going to the Hall of Fame.
He's not as bad as some of the recent Browns debacles.
Look at the passer ratings between Ben and Tyrod yesterday. They both sucked. Passer ratings.
Yeah.
So, and we all know Ben Roethlisberger is going
Let's
to
see if
the
I can
Hall of
find
Fame.
that quick.
So it's, let's see. I've got it.
Look at you.
Ben was 60.5 and Tyrod was 51.8. So it's not that much difference. Tyrod Taylor, as much hate as he gets, he's not that bad. He just has a crappy line in crappy conditions. He was the one, if you really think about it, if you look at that pass to Antonio Callaway, it was Josh Gordon. That was a perfect pass. And, of course, he had some bad decisions, just like Ben Roethlisberger, who's going into the Hall of Fame. Tyrod Taylor, I don't think he uses his legs enough. If you look at his stats, he led the Browns in rushing yesterday. It was 77 yards. So he's not that bad of a quarterback. But I understand why he does get a little bit of hate thrown his way because he doesn't look like your typical NFL quarterback.
Well,
so
I think any quarterback that runs,
Right.
they get knocked.
Sure.
But boy, oh boy, I thought he didn't read the defense several times. He would take off and run when there were guys open downfield, and that's always it's tough when you're watching on TV versus you were there in the press box. You can see the full view of the field. Sometimes a guy looks open on my screen when in reality there's a safety 5 yards in back of him that makes him not wide open. But he didn't seem to hit the guys he could have and move the Browns further downfield.
I thought he was under duress all day, and that I think that goes more to the again a not good offensive line and the Steelers' strength on defense is their pass rush. So,
what did you think of the Steelers' move to slide Watts towards the center of the field, almost as a middle linebacker spy on Taylor?
Well, so this offseason they switched Bud Dupree and T.J. Watt.
Yeah.
Bud Dupree's now coming from the right side of the line and TJ's on the left. Their reasoning behind that is to give Dupree, set him up for his strengths, which is going after the quarterback. Yeah,
running to the goalpost.
Yeah, and he left he created a lot of lanes for Tyrod by doing that.
Yeah.
But I think obviously it works. T.J. Watt, he said this offseason during OTAs and minicamps, he said with one going into year number 2 and then making the switch to the left defensive end, he said I have to make splash plays because that's what is predicated for that position in the Steelers defense, and he's off to a hell of a start. The second most sacks in a single game in Steelers franchise history since they started.
Okay.
Since they started keeping that stat, so it worked. I like it. But if you remember last year in his NFL debut, he had an interception and a sack or two against the Browns too. So let's see if he can continue to do this week after week.
Let's go to Ben Roethlisberger now, and we're going to pull up Ben's stats. 23 of 41, which is not a bad day in and of itself. 1 TD, 3 interceptions, like you said, a 60.5 rating, and a couple other fumbles. Chase, here's the question I think people are justified in asking. If Ben Roethlisberger had actually showed up for preseason, had gotten a few more reps in, had gotten a little more repetition, doesn't he have a better week 1?
I think that question can be answered for the entire offense. I think we saw the offense last year. I think it's just the way of the NFL, unfortunately. These teams, these offenses aren't going to get a lot of reps, game reps in the preseason because out of just natural preservation. And the after effect of that is what we saw yesterday. So there's going to be rust. Again, you have to take into account all the factors, but I don't think it was that. I think if you look over the last couple years, Ben has been inconsistent. His highs are really, really high.
Yeah.
But when
he's bad,
when his lows are low, they're pretty low.
Well, and
Jacksonville last year with 4 or 5 interceptions.
Yeah.
But his road versus his home and road splits, you can't deny that over the last 2-3 years. So I think there's a lot of that.
What we've seen, though, is when Ben is rusty, coming back from injury, first game of the week, even after bye weeks, when Ben is rusty, he can be brutal.
Yeah, and it wasn't all Ben. Like those interceptions weren't all Ben.
Right, Jesse James.
Good
what
God.
Was? Put your hands up.
But
grab the ball.
Also, too, you got to understand he has Myles Garrett down his throat the entire game. Al Villanueva could not handle Myles Garrett.
No, that was surprising to me how easily Garrett got around Villanueva on a couple of those.
Myles Garrett's pedigree is way bigger than Al Villanueva.
I understand, but Villanueva has this wingspan, like at least chip the guy a little bit.
He's quick. Myles Garrett, there's a reason why he was the #1 overall pick a couple years ago. That dude's a freak. I saw him at Texas. It was Texas A&M? Is that where he went? Where did he go? Where did he go to school? Help me out.
You're asking the wrong guy. Unless he's on the ice, I don't know where he went to college or played in juniors. You know what I'm saying?
Keep going.
I worry about it. The NFL draft in August. After do what you have to do in May. I'll worry about who shows up.
Yeah, he went to Texas.
September.
Yeah, he's from my hometown actually.
Okay,
Texas A&M. Yeah, he's a hell of a player, and he showed why yesterday with a couple sacks and strip sack too. So. Again, it's not all Ben. He's not terrible by any means. Off game, he admitted it himself. He was off on a few passes. I think he's still trying to figure out. Again, you throw in a new major wrinkle to the offense, the unknown of James Conner. I'm not saying Martavis was the end all be all, but he was throwing at Justin Hunter for crying out loud a few times. So I think they'll be fine offensively. The only thing that I didn't like about the offense early on, they had a couple 3rd and 2s, and they're in shotgun and they're throwing the ball. That drives me bananas.
And they were Trent Green, who was one of the color commentators yesterday, along with Bruce Arians. Right. Which boy, CBS really missed.
I didn't hear it, but I saw it all over Twitter. Someone was wide ass open, right? It was great.
I liked Bruce Arians a lot. His voice isn't necessarily broadcaster voice, but I thought he was insightful. They were lauding the Steelers for throwing the quick slant to Antonio Brown later in the game on a 3rd and 2, which was completed. But they tried the same play, in instead of an out on the first drive, and the ball wound up in the water. And I just, 3rd and 2, hand it off.
Yeah,
You've got a back like James Conner and a middle push like Marquise Pouncey. You go right behind him.
If you look at any of their offensive line, that whole entire offensive line's fantastic.
They're big and
So they're good. I don't understand that, but I don't know.
The NFL has thinking that I don't think laymen understand. In their own little bubble, in their own little universe, they've got this entire language and philosophy.
Well, just like you and your philosophy in hockey that I don't get.
I've got an entire country behind me. It's north, but I'll get you there. Don't worry. Before long, you'll be like, he's got some jam in his game. Look at that. He got some step on the skates.
I don't understand that type of play call, but, is what it is. But still, they were 7 out of 15 converting 3rd downs yesterday. That's massive in the NFL, moving the chains. And so, we'll see. We'll see how they adjust to that moving forward.
Well, I want to look a little bit ahead as well, kind of extrapolating what we saw in Cleveland. How much do you think that game carries into week 2?
In what way?
In what we saw from the Steelers, are they what we thought they were? Are they worse than we thought they were? Or do you really take that as a week 1, almost a preseason game for a lot of the Steelers offense and scrap it? And coming up against the Chiefs, then you're like, oh, okay.
I don't want to. You can't scrap anything, but it was their dress. That was the first time the entire team on both sides played together. Since last season. So I don't think you scrap it by any means. I do think there are some good things. Offensively, we found out James Conner can play. Defensively, we figured out switching Bud Dupree and TJ Watt works. We found out that they can still get after the quarterback. If you look at the yards per play yesterday, it was like 3.8 yards per play the defense allowed. Last year, for the entire year, they allowed close to 6 yards per play. So I don't think there's you shouldn't worry. They're going to be fine. I think Chris Boswell's not going to miss a chip shot. 42-yard field goal.
I think we all knew he was going to miss that in the slop like that yesterday. Just, it's so tough to kick.
There were so many, I don't want to say uncharacteristic because we've seen it before, but there was just a lot of sloppy play that a veteran team cleans up, just like they had last year. Even though the Steelers won last year, there was a lot of the same concerns coming out of Cleveland, and they reeled off a bunch of wins. So I'm not worried per se, but I think there are some worries. Mainly Joe Haden.
I was going to ask you, was there any word on if that's a tweak that's a couple days or a few weeks?
We don't know. He's getting an MRI today. Mike Tomlin will update tomorrow at his press conference. The locker room's open right now, actually, and I doubt many people, if he will be there, to say anything. But that's a big concern for me because in comes Pat Mahomes, a kid that I followed at Texas Tech.
He can sling it.
He's phenomenal. And again, it's only one game, but the kid can throw, he can play. That's exactly why Andy Reid went out and got him and let Alex Smith go. The kid can throw. They put up 38 points yesterday in L.A. and beating the Chargers. Pat Mahomes, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. His rating, 127.
Hang on, I can pull that up, actually.
So go ahead. You flip your switches. You flip your switches, and I'll give you the stats because I've been looking at it this morning. But that secondary still, I think, is the concern for me because there weren't missed tackles yesterday by the Steelers, which obviously helps. But Pat Mahomes is an upgrade in quarterback from Tyrod Taylor.
All right. Yeah, what is with the NFL websites? By the way, all of these, of course, are the screenshots courtesy of ESPN.com, NFL.com. The NFL hasn't updated their stats to include yesterday. They're all like 2017 stats. I know you got some money, NFL. Let's get on this here. Sutton, though, got burned right away, but then came back with a big interception.
It's a great pass.
It was.
It was just like to me, I saw it was comparable for Denzel Ward, who you were singing his praises earlier. We both were. That pass from Ben to AB was perfect. It was defended extremely well. It was just a good play, and that's going to happen. I thought that was the same way that touchdown catch from Josh Gordon. That was a hell of a catch. He's a big dude. Cam Sutton isn't a big guy.
Yeah.
I thought he defended it as well as possible. However, now if Joe Haden is out and you throw in Cam Sutton more often, I think you do expose him a little more. Just like he's good in the role that he is, but if you expand that role, what is he then? So I think that's a potential issue, worry of mine for the defense, especially going into this week if Joe Haden can't play.
Yeah, that's been a bugaboo of the Steelers, who I was just off the top of my head. I didn't want to do any research on it because I wanted to just kind of go back and use maybe a little bit of the feeling on the Steelers' defenses, because sometimes stats don't tell the full story. The Steelers have not been great defensively now for too many years. I mean, this is the hallmark of the franchise. They've been able to run the ball to keep that part of Steelers football alive. But it's been 6 or 7 years since they've had a great defense. And I don't know where all the players have gone. They've been using high draft picks. Second and third round to bring in cornerbacks.
No. First round. Like the last 6 years, they've used their first round pick. 6 out of the last 7 years, they've used their first round pick on a defensive player.
Right.
Yesterday,
I was going to the secondary, but the larger point is valid.
Artie Burns was a couple years ago.
Yeah. And they've been missing on these guys, or maybe not missing is the wrong word. I don't want to get killed here in the comment section, but these guys haven't hit big for them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought the defense yesterday again showed really positive signs. Of the 6 turnovers that the offense gave up, the defense only allowed 7 points off of those 6 turnovers.
Tyrod Taylor.
And the 7, well, no. Well, again, you can only play who you're playing.
Right.
So the touchdown that they allowed was the one, was the James fumble that was out at the 1, and they scored a player 2 later. So the defense, I thought, did their part yesterday. I thought there were a lot of encouraging signs. You have, I think T.J. Watt, honestly, is only going to get better and better and better. It's a second-year player. Mike Tomlin says it over and over and over. We expect, as an organization, they expect a massive jump in talent and awareness and performance from any position from year 1 to year 2. They see the biggest growth, and I really think we saw that yesterday in T.J. Watt. And again, Bud Dupree, has his faults, but I think that move to the right side is really going to help him moving forward. So defensively, they're fine. Again, just look at the numbers. Yes, I mean last year they were number 6 total defense, 5. So it's just, again, kind of like Ben. When they throw out a clunker, it's really bad. And I'm not saying yesterday was a clunker at all.
Right.
The only clunker that I can remember last year was the Bears game and both Jacksonville games. They got smoked. So, but I think that they're okay. They're okay. Injuries, if they stay healthy, they'll be fine.
Okay.
They'll be fine.
Now, you told me something a couple weeks ago that you really liked the Cincinnati Bengals. That was you, right?
Oh, I like Joe Mixon. I like a few things on the Bengals, and they came back and beat the Colts yesterday, right?
Right. So I'm kind of now. I'm going to turn ahead here. The Bengals win yesterday, so they're a half game ahead of the Steelers already, which that's a unique situation. How big, how insignificant is a tie yesterday?
I think it's huge because the AFC North as a whole is significantly better than it was last year.
Yeah.
Baltimore blew out whoever they played, Buffalo, I think.
You know, driving up to the Penn's rookie camp, the big rock station in Buffalo, they have one of these big voiced, like, morning guys. Hey, Nate Peterman's going to be, he's going to take care of the Ravens this week. And they had like a Nate Peterman song set to Candyman.
Sorry,
Peterman can, and ouch.
That guy doesn't belong on an NFL roster. Sorry, Pitt fans, he's not good. There's not much around him in Buffalo. LaShawn McCoy's done. They're not a good team. But going back to your point about the Bengals,
terrible parody song.
About the Bengals in Cleveland and how much a half game cost means. I think it goes a long way that as much as the Steelers shot themselves in the foot yesterday, for lack of a better cliche, they should have won that game.
Yeah.
And who knows how the season can play out. What happens if James Conner, who has an injury-riddled past, what if he gets hurt? How much does that change things now? Le'Veon Bell is still holding out. You don't know, so who knows? It could be a much harder division than last year. And again, last year, if you look on the surface, the Steelers were 13-3 in the regular season. How many of those games were 3 points or less?
Do I have to go back and count?
A lot, like 6 or 7. How many times did Boswell save their ass? A lot. And now, this is completely overthinking it, but
that's what we do here.
If you go inside, who knows what can happen in Chris Boswell's mind?
Yeah.
He just got the big deal. He misses one. Oh my gosh, that seed of doubt is planted in his head. There's just it's a long season, obviously. However,
but there are some negative seeds that were planted
for sure,
yesterday.
Absolutely, and they can't afford to lose. Or really, that's a loss. That's a loss to the Cleveland Browns if you look at it.
Morally, it's a loss.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I think we've seen that over the years with these Pittsburgh Steelers. They lose games on the road where they shouldn't. It happens every year. So,
I specifically didn't, or intentionally didn't mention kind of that entire pattern that we've seen. You brought it up, so I guess I have to mention it now, because whenever you talk about the bad losses on the road and the bad losses to bad teams, the anti-Tomlin folks like crack their knuckles. All right, here we go, and here they come. And I really don't want to get too much into that. It took 4 calls yesterday on the post-game show for some guy to reference Bill Cowher, who always bench players. I was like, wait a second, Bill Cowher was like the most veteran-friendly coach,
right? Even more so than Mike Tomlin.
But 15 years on, and suddenly he was, a iron-jawed guy who'd bench guys. No, he wasn't.
Yeah,
he would let veterans play out the entire season regardless of...
He wasn't that way at all. And I think Tomlin's a good coach. Yes, you can point to any head coach, maybe except for Bill Belichick, seriously, in the entire NFL, that doesn't make those decisions that you point out.
Well, the thing about Belichick, and I don't mean to interrupt you, he makes those goofy decisions too. They somehow work for him.
Oh, for sure. I mean...
Like going for on 4th and 2 in your own zone late in a game. And it works for him.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why he is who he is. But the hate and the venom for Mike Tomlin is completely ignorant to me. Ask yourself this. Does Mike Tomlin coach interceptions? Does Mike Tomlin coach not catching the ball? Does Mike Tomlin coach fumbling the ball?
Yeah.
Is that the coach's fault? No. Ultimately, yes, it falls on his shoulders. But, I mean, come on, give me a break with that crap. Those people that call in and Twitter and all that stuff. Like, that's just stupidity and emotion playing a part. I mean, Mike Tomlin is a good coach. Look at his numbers. They're 23-1 in their last 24 games. Are you kidding? I mean, come on.
I think that Tomlin guy,
it's stupid. And I mean, I know people that I deal with that's their crutch, going straight to him, going to Juju. They're lit, and like, come on, look at what's going on, and stop trying to like demean them for your own personal vendettas.
Well, one of your colleagues told me a couple years ago that he had never seen a head coach have as much loyalty in an organization as Tomlin has inspired, from the grounds crew to the owner.
Sure,
and he was marveling at just how much everyone has bought in to Mike Tomlin. And sure, he's not Bill Belichick, but he's probably one of the top 5 coaches in the NFL.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. And shameless plug, coming up next Monday, I do a sit-down exclusive one-on-one with Coach Tomlin.
Let me see if I can... Wait. I can't get over it. Wait. See, there. WPXI. It didn't work. Yeah, WPXI.
Anyways,
sit down with Mike Tomlin.
Next Monday, that shows a completely different side of Mike Tomlin. My opinion, because of this interview that I have with him, honestly, my opinion's changed of Mike Tomlin completely. Because what you see on the exterior, the guy at the podium, is not the guy that I got to know the other day. It has nothing to do with football, but it just shows that like he's a good dude. And the loyal, you understand why there is loyalty, because he's a deep guy. You're talking about the grounds crew and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have we seen talking about loyalty of managers or whatever? The biggest, most unbelievable one in this town since I've been here, Clint Hurdle and Sean Rodriguez. That's for another show. But I mean, the haters, seriously, find something new. Mike Tomlin's a good coach. If you're from where I'm from, which is Dallas, you would be absolutely tearing this town apart if you had Jason Garrett, like a Cowboys fan like myself. That's what you have as a head coach. You are lucky to have found Mike Tomlin. Yes, he's got his things, but you are extremely lucky to have a guy like Coach Tomlin. Get over yourself. Stop talking about it. Next Monday,
all right,
the 17th on Channel 11.
Before you get in trouble, perhaps I should wrap things up. Hey, this is Steelers Monday. We're going to do this after every Steelers game here on Pittsburgh Sports Live. The channel is obviously still in its infancy. We're still growing. There'll be more lights. There'll be bigger sets and bigger guests. Couldn't resist.
My last time here.
Chase Williams of WPXI, thank you so much. It's always a blast. And coming up tomorrow, Mike Asti will do his show, Mike Drop. On Wednesday, I am back with a Pittsburgh Penguins training camp preview. Thursday and Friday, Vukovcan and Saunders will get you into the weekend with a lot more football talk. And, of course, we'll be live from sporting events around the city. You'll see us all on Pittsburgh Sports Live. So until we talk again, kids, have fun.